Welcome to the Patriot Hour. I'm Michael, your host for 31518 Q-ANON, Q clearance. Any more new drops, any breadcrumbs, we're going to look. If not, we got something else to jump into. We got Scott in the studio. Stick around. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back to the Patriot Hour. If you're new to the channel, please take a look around. If you're new to the Q-ANON, Q clearance whole thing, just I got some good little videos that'll catch you up, bring you up to par. We got Scott in the studio.
Good morning, good morning. Subscribe, ring the bell.
Yes, please. Okay, so we're going to jump right in it here. We are on the Q-ANON. I'm going to go back to the Q-ANON GitHub. Okay.
I really enjoyed the one you did on his number 17 jersey. That was pretty cool.
Yes, if you guys didn't see that, I put one out late last night, early this morning. It finally got posted, but Trump's 17 jersey is Q-ANON. I don't know. Check that one out. I'll maybe link it at the end of this video. So we're going to look at 919 or something. Let me see here.
There it was. Went past it.
Oh, there it is. So, March 10th, 2018, 1406, 2:06 p.m. That's Eastern Standard Time. 919 in the series. Guns are safe. Stop falling for fake news. Q. That's very. What do you take out of that?
Guns are safe. Boy, I believe they're safe. You just bounced away from it.
It's right here.
Oh, yeah. Stop falling for fake news. And I suppose that might be 5th and 6th grade news. Don't try to use 5th and 6th graders to illustrate your agenda or get me to believe it, whatever it is that you want me to believe. And I'm not gonna handle or be able to tolerate 5th and 6th graders for this agenda. So. But this was right before the march. Actually, 4 days prior to the march, right? All these little marches going around for gun advocacy or whatever. Fake news.
I'm taking that as well as just guns are safe, which means
Has he posted anything since about the marches?
No, I think he's been real busy, honestly.
Going on.
One of the last ones he put was, somebody was like, "Oh, did you spell that word wrong? Should I, 926, why the misspelling? Did you mean Marina?" And he's like, "No, I'm on the move. Misspelled, don't analyze." He's like, rolling under cars and, it's still trying to text. So it's kind of like, give the guy a minute. There's lots of things going on. But no, you're right. Guns are safe. I take that as not literally like, they're all safe. Keep the safeties on or whatnot. No, he's meaning like they're safe. They're not going to be taken away.
Oh,
Guns are safe. And then stop falling for the fake news, which is 93% of the media is out there getting us engulfed in this whole guns are coming, guns are going.
Yeah.
This is a different one, folks, for sure. They're tugging at the strings of the young people in America, our children, our youth.
Yeah.
And
using them as pawns.
Yeah, and Q says that when a scare event happens where most people are more susceptible at that point, their minds are, oh, well, what can we do to get this under wraps and control? And then somebody's like, oh, we need to take them away.
That solves
not a bad
everything.
idea.
That solves everything. When are kids too young? And I guess if you start that question with kids, then they're too young already.
Well,
adolescents are emotional. You're not adept. You're not matured enough yet to handle most emotional difficulties. And hell, Johnny just broke up with Sally. It's a big deal.
Yes.
I remember being a child. You really want me to believe that 5th and 6th graders? I'm not saying they're stupid, but emotionally, they're not ready for a topic like this because, A, where are they getting their information? This is the part that's driving me crazy. We just scrolled through something where you know, the one teacher was interviewed. My teacher or my students want to be heard. Well, about what? About what you taught them, or what you or their parents suggested? I don't know. I'm not ready for 5th and 6th graders, and in some cases they got 6 and 7-year-old kids holding up signs. You want to hold up a sign and say, I feel bad, or you do a vigil, hold some candle, burn some candles, or say some prayer. That's one thing, but at what point shouldn't we be ashamed as adults for bringing the children into this?
Well, I agree on. It's like, I think. Okay, so we already have laws in place. Kids, 18 it is now. They're trying to raise, handguns are 21, any long rifles, 18.
Yeah.
They're trying to change. We're hearing talks about long rifle going to 21. So there's already rules that guns aren't supposed to be in the schools, and you got to be 18 at least to get the long rifle. So
how many laws were broken?
If they can't have them, not that they don't have a voice, and we're talking 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th graders, of course they're affected by things that would happen in their school, and you're getting, looking, well, what kind of results or changes can we make to help this? Well, you'd think after Sandy Hook or some of these other, if something was going to be done, it's like all we heard was screaming about getting rid of these certain things.
Right.
What about the security or
what actually can be done?
Yeah. So even if we not just changing a law and banning something or getting it added to a list, because we know, folks, that's just like drugs are already on these lists, but drugs end up back in the schools, but they're banned or they're outlawed, they're illegal.
Heroin killed 50,000 people last year. That is illegal as the day is long, and it killed 50,000. Yes. It killed more than guns did.
Yeah. So what?
It's killing kids.
Let's say they do get this passed. Theoretically, that they get it passed, they're still going to have an armed guard or somebody at the door to just look visually as people are walking in, just to make sure somebody doesn't end up bringing an illegal banned thing that day.
Correct.
They'd still,
That would make too much logical sense to actually implement things that could right away start working. I mean, in the meantime, while DC or you and me are arguing and debating and seeing if we can get a law passed, there are things you can do right now. Like you just put a little bit more security in there. So, but you have one side suggesting a few things, and you have the other side not really wanting to suggest a whole lot other than, as a constitutionalist, as a man with kids, I put a security guard in there, give the teacher some guns. Well, you can't do that. Well, you know what? Every time somebody wants to suggest something, it's not any good.
No.
We got to take the guns away first. Well, no, there's a lot of things we can implement right now while we're waiting on DC to do something. We as parents. Private schools can get things done a lot faster than what you and I can with the public schools.
Oh, yeah.
And why is that? Well, it's ran by the state. But if these private schools want to make a change, and you never really see private schools in the news because, hey, they keep them inside. They're private for a reason. But there are, I like how you said that, because there's certainly a whole lot of things, or at least a good handful of things that could be done right now.
Yes,
but they don't want to do that
because that's not their. They want they
want somebody else to do it for them,
or they want these. They got their pigeonholed into on this one idea that this is going to help, but there's multiple things that could help. Yeah. So I'm just trying to expand people's thinking, like you are, to think logically, think be a realist about it. Because it's these theories that this doesn't quite work. We've looked at this. We can look at the history books. We can look at this other country, and did it work? Everyone just thinks you got to learn for yourselves every time.
Was there a bombing on the news last night? I vaguely remember a bombing. Two people were killed or something. So
where? Yeah.
You can ban the gun. Go ahead. You know what? Over my dead body, but go ahead, get it done. And if we play devil's advocate, I quit watching the news for a couple of nights because I'm just getting tired of all sides, of all the channels. I literally haven't watched a whole lot. I've been reading more online, Google, and I love the Googles. I'll watch the New York Times. I'll watch PBS. I take my information from 5 or 6 different sources, and then I make up my own mind. But the agenda right now, guns, pull the gun. Again, pull the guns. And within 2 years, probably within a year, You think that they're just magically, these shootings are just going to go away? Again, implement all the laws you want.
That's what scares me.
They're going to break the law anyway, and now all you've done is taken.
They've gotten a chunk of something, and they're like, no, you were right, Scott. This isn't working. We need to get the other guns. That's what they're doing now. That's, you know what I'm saying? That's that. Give them an inch, they're gonna take a mile and take you around the corner and do a couple of loops and come back down the same road and ask for everything else again. We've talked about it before. Precedence.
You never stops. Yeah, you gotta be real careful about the word precedence. If you give them a little bit, it just makes it easier. They're lawyers, after all. All of our politicians, and shame on all of us. When you give a lawyer some ammunition like precedence, it's so much easier to go that next inch.
Once you can't take nothing away from idiots, right? Once you give it to them, they just, that's what leads me, like, you know, we talk about, we're for small, minimalist government interfering in my life.
Correct.
So, like we talked about, people lobby to get these government. We want smaller government. And then the government, you know, listens to everyone bitching in all the states, and they're being the loudest over here in Phoenix. So let's shut down that government facility over there. And then these people get really mad and like, I'm not voting for you or you. You're shutting down this. It's gonna hurt our area, our economy.
But you asked for it.
But you asked for it.
But but just don't affect me.
And that's the same story going on in every town around the U.S., folks. So they're going to hit somewhere, and they typically go where the loudest voice is, and we're going to make a change here. This is what you guys are asking for, and now it's going to affect you. So everyone's about stuff until it starts to personally,
it's easy.
Agendas come out.
It's easy to Monday morning quarterback when it doesn't, when you don't have a horse in the race.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
That's huge.
But to use fifth graders, you know, and there's certain group of people that complain about the NRA. Actually, they do a whole lot more than complaining. They get just downright nasty. The NRA needs to go away. Well, if you do your history and look into the NRA, they've done a lot of good. They teach children how to use a weapon.
Oh, yeah.
You know, safely. And if you grow up around guns and you get taught well with the guns, then you probably aren't going to be that kid that's going to go do all the shooting. So you have one group that is always complaining about the NRA. They're lobbyists. We got to get the NRA and lobbyists out of D.C. Well, I'm okay with getting all lobbyists out of D.C. I'd be okay with that. But right now you're using children, and you, in the same sense, are lobbying. You're lobbying against the Second Amendment. You're lobbying against guns. You're doing exactly what the NRA does. Well, you know, the NRA's got millions and millions and millions of dollars. Well, liberal media, you're using children. So you're not using a whole lot of money, although somebody's paying for these kids to get bussed around, you know.
Oh, yeah.
I like the George Soros conspiracy. But so what the NRA uses money? It's money they raise from people like me that pay, you know, subscriptions and membership fees. I know what they're doing with that money, and I'm okay with that. Just like you are apparently okay with using children to get your agenda across. So you can hate the NRA all you want till you're blue in the face, but at the end of the day, they're only practicing the same right that you're practicing, but except now you've stepped it down. The NRA is using money.
Now
you're using children.
They got huge donations influx after this whole Parkland shooting because of the, you know, everyone.
Because they know they were coming.
Yes, so they get amped up. I mean, a lot of supporters start not that.
And they're idiots. I mean, the liberal news media is so.
Well, that's what Q says. Don't, you know.
You're irritating our side too, and what do?
Yeah.
Speak with our dollars. If I know you're coming after them, I can't stop DC. But the
lawyer up,
kind of
like. No, and that's an interesting thing, and I saw on Facebook or something yesterday. I got in with some people we know. JD. I can use those initials.
Oh yeah.
I was in a conversation there, and it's like I am just tired of holding this. I get in there. There's 80 comments, and it's just the back and forth. Of course, you got this person's personal feeling, and then this other person. But I had got in there, and I said, you know, my new thing that I've been telling people is I do not hold this conversation. Luckily, the law and our Constitution's already on our side, and the guns are in our houses, and the law's on our side right now. So what you have is a huge wave of people trying to just bring the topic up so you'll hold it with them, and then they can just debate you and start throwing their personal feelings, and it's just like...
No facts or logic.
Well, there's a proper way.
Kids are dying.
Yeah, well, you're not going to talk me out of something.
Right.
So I tell them, get your piece of paper. There's a way to ratify. That's how it works. And once you guys actually get enough signatures and enough backing to change my Second Amendment, then I'll meet you at the court. I'll take enough time that day to go down, go to the courthouse, and yell as well. So, but until then, it's just all, it's just not worth the conversation. It's not a conversation where, I mean, literally, get your paper, meet you at the courthouse, and then you walk away, and they're like, no, I want to scream down your throat with my theories and my.
I'm not going to hear it.
No, it's just a waste of my time right now.
That's right.
And that's what Q's kind of saying. Don't believe in the media anyway. There's a whole bunch of stuff that would have to be done, unless, like they're saying, I guess they took it that way. The way they're spinning. Well, can't Trump take his pen and with a swift line do something?
No.
Nope. I mean, maybe, but he's not going to do that. This is a constitutional.
Quit looking for the government to do your work for you.
That's right.
That's one of my biggest.
Now, the minute you guys trick him into doing that, you would say, "No, he's Hitler. He took our guns." See, but you guys are begging for it, so he's not going to do that. And that's what he did a week ago at that little round table meeting. He gave some words that all the journalists or CNN and them have been holding on, spinning.
Oh, yeah.
And now he's not doing anything. And they're like,
Panic
Sarah Huckabee
sits.
said it great, dude. He's not going to do anything with a broad stroke of a pen.
Nor should he.
No.
I don't want that type
This
of
is
president.
left to your Democratic constituents and your Republican constituents, and they're going to have to duke this out. And this involves Second Amendment, constitutional.
Correct.
I mean, so there's,
the truth is, and you sound a lot like
Florida did something though, didn't they?
Oh yeah, they had right away. They changed laws, but what their constituents don't understand is not one law that they changed. We went over that the last show. The 4 or 5 things they changed wasn't assault rifles, ARs.
Well, anytime they write up legislation, people at home do things to quickly go write workarounds. But what were you saying? I sounded like who now?
So you sound like my dad.
Okay.
God bless him.
Good man.
Like what you just said to me, really, it kind of made me embarrassed a little bit because I've gotten involved.
Think about
with
it.
Too
Don't
many
let
of these
don't
debates.
let them do it to you.
There's no real reason to you. Folks, there's nothing going on right now that you should be aware. I mean, just because the news media is telling you that they're taking your gun, they're not. My dad would tell you, and that the older generation will say, this isn't the first time this conversation has come up. In my lifetime, it's come up 3 or 4 times. They're coming for your guns. They haven't taken them yet. They're not gonna take them.
It's gonna be all that rhetoric talk into getting everyone to feel like this certain group of people do that want the guns gone.
Right.
It's that's what they're trying to incite. So once they get most of us on board with that, like take them. Well, yeah, they take them, but it's not ever really gonna be them taking them. It's gonna be you giving it up.
And the reason my mind is blown. And the fact is, like I was just stating, in Florida, they did pass 4 laws, or they're passing them. The Democrats unanimously voted on it. But again, they didn't address the AR. They didn't address the pump stock. They did not address magazines, large magazines.
That's right.
They just, and I would have to Google it and look it up again. I can't remember the 4 things they actually really talked about. One was 18 to 21. So again, going back to what we opened the show with, they're beating around the bush too. Mm-hmm. There isn't one group of people in this country willing to go to D.C. with their lawyers and say, let's appeal the Second Amendment.
No, the people that are the loudest are just hoping that somebody else will do it for them.
Exactly.
So let them run their own circus without the ringmaster.
Don't fall victim to it. It's like JFK. Quit asking. Don't ask. I term it in a different way. Quit asking your government to do everything for you. You have a brain. We are the people, but to continue to think that the left is, they're coming for your guns. They're not. They just proved that. Again, the 4 things they just did in Florida, none of them had to do with what the weapon was that the kid brought to school.
Yeah.
No large capacity magazines, no AR. So quit freaking out. And I'm going to do a better job of that too. I do get passionate when somebody starts, what? I don't have to anymore because, like you said, until I know they're going to vote on appealing or ratifying the Second Amendment, I'm chilled now. You're not going to pull me into this emotional game anymore because that's what they want. They just want to throw fuel on the fire. But all right, I guess instead of talking about guns, I can sit here and talk about. You know what I am angry about? Using children as pawns. You gotta grow up.
No, I wanted to pull this up. I don't know if you heard it, but even for the viewers out there, this would be a good one on our topic with the whole don't believe the media. So I played this in this is my own video, but
I love her. I hope she runs for president someday. She's a woman, but they'll find something wrong with her. Oh, she's not the right woman.
let's see if we can hear this.
Yeah, Sarah, picking up where John left off regarding the National Rifle Association, at that February 28th meeting with lawmakers, President Trump sort of made an example of Republican senators who were afraid of crossing the NRA, and he said, quote, "Some of you are petrified of the NRA, you can't be petrified." But based on the plan last night, it seems like President Trump was the one petrified of the NRA because he backed away from some of the ideas that he had brought into the discussion, and I'm asking why he chickened out, why he didn't go forward with what he had proposed earlier.
Look, he hasn't backed away from these things at all. As I just said, they're still outlined in the plan, but he can't make them happen with a broad stroke of the pen. You have to have some congressional component to do some of these things, and without that support, it's not as possible. However, we are focused on things that we can do immediately. Let's not forget that the Obama administration had the White House and all of Congress for 2 years and never did anything. This president is actually supporting specific pieces of legislation and still laying out other priorities that he would like to see talked about and implemented, whether we have to do that on a state level.
He could have put out a proposal for legislation. He could have advocated for universal background checks. He could have called for raising the ages in the states. Instead, he's tabled that.
He
to
hasn't
this
actually.
commission.
He's put it's actually listed still in his policy proposal that you'll see.
So there you go.
That breaks my heart. I got a little bit of an echo still.
Oh yeah.
So
There we go.
So there he was saying they want Trump to like basically wrap a rope around his neck and jump. Like she just said, Obama had the office, they had a Congress and a Senate. They didn't do anything. This reporter is exactly what we just talked about.
Because nobody is going to do it.
Somebody else do it.
Nobody is going to do it. It's stepping into boundaries
It's
that people
suicide.
don't. To get through this one, folks, this isn't like other things where they're just going to come and take something or tell you like, hey, we're signing the Patriot Act, and now when you go to the airport, you'll be semi-molested. This is different. That's putting it mildly. Yes. Yeah. So, okay, what else did we have up here? Let me jump back over to our screenshot.
And I love how they keep saying the students have more
So
planned.
there you go. Students more plan more demonstrations against gun violence. This is March 15th, early this morning.
They're planning it all by themselves, huh? What dollars? Where are these dollars coming from? Where they're busing these kids around and come on. Yes. I understand children with today's technology are able to communicate a little bit better, but if you want me to believe that this is not being headed up by someone in the adult world, then you're a liar. There's these kids. Again, going back to 5th graders. Are you kidding me? 3rd graders. There was even an article in New York Times where the one parent, she says, I have kindergartners. They don't have a clue as to what's going on, but they're being told. You and I talked. What was his name the other day? Hicks or Biggs or whatever his name was. The one young man that they say they were wondering if he's actually 17. But he might be 25. Hogs. And he was on the Botmauer show, and this is all orchestrated. It is all doctored up. These kids aren't getting in front of cameras. You can tell. They look almost like they're being coached with a teleprompter.
It's scary.
Don't tell me this is free speech, because they're only repeating what the adults in their circle or whatever have encouraged them to go out there and say. I know when I was 7, 8 years old, I wouldn't have understood any of this. But if you told me that I'm supposed to make a sign and we're going to go out and walk around the playground or the school or the community, I bet I would say, well, what's this about? And that's exactly the types of questions these young kids are asking. So who's telling them? You want me to go along with you being angry at the NRA and their lobbying, but You're doing the same thing, except you're doing it to the innocence of children. They don't. We have one person on the old Facebook that loves to tell everybody about, you shouldn't believe in God, you shouldn't eat meat, you shouldn't do this. And every time you get in a debate or an argument with her, well, that's what it turns into, is an argument. She's always right? And we're always wrong. So this is what we're up against now. You have a large group of people that are using children, and they think that's okay. But they can't stand the NRA for using millions of dollars. Well, you know what, folks? Chill out, relax. That money is coming from me, so I'm be mad at me. That's fine, but I'm just as irritated about it. You using children, so.
Oh yeah, no, exactly. You're right. It's so this is our second amendment. What about our first? What about that? They already got some colleges doing these free speech. Free speech
zones?
free speech zones. No free speech is allowed in
Right.
these certain parts. What the heck?
Well, Shapiro and a couple of those guys get invited to go to a certain school, and I'm not gonna because we're somewhat new at all this. I don't want to say the wrong thing, and then lawyers be calling and prosecuting attorneys. So we do know that Shapiro and a couple of our constitutionalist buddies. They get invited to do a show, and then they show up, and they're, no, we're not going to let.
No, they end up getting.
We're going to use our First Amendment to stop you from using yours. And there was large crowds waiting to hear him speak.
But the ones that didn't.
But he couldn't even get in the damn door.
That's the whole thing. It's we used to all know. It's like, I don't like this TV channel. You just turn it.
Weird.
Nowadays, people sit there, have 500 other channels, and they're like, no, and they're punching their couch, and they're getting so irate watching something that they might not want to watch or hearing what they don't want to hear, but they want to shut it down for everybody.
Sure.
Not just
'Cause
like,
it offends them.
yeah. So why don't you read a little bit of that here? This is free speech zones.
Free speech zones, also known as First Amendment zones, free speech cages, and protest zones, are areas set aside in public places for the purpose of political protesting. Oh my Lord. The First Amendment to the United States Constitution states that Congress shall make no law abridging the right of the people peaceably
To assemble.
to assemble.
Stop right there. So I think I'm in the wrong thing, but now we did go over free speech zones, which I thought that was everywhere. So now if we go, what would it be? Anti-free speech zones at colleges, on college campus. Okay, this is what I was wanting to talk about. So now we'll look at this one. Washington, why are college students protests are battling free? Is there a, I'll just go to the, are college campuses growing more intolerant? Yes, I think so. So why college student protesters are battling free speech? In graph 1, I still don't know if this is
Darn advertisements.
at the risk of oversimplifying a necessary complex situation. The new data from the Pew Research offers some insight into the spat of the protest at the number of. So again, I don't know if this is what I was looking for. I was looking for these anti-free speech zones that are popping up on college campus. I mean, that goes against our 23
News about anti-free speech on college campuses. College campuses used to be fortresses for free speech, but now they're free speech murder holes, racists, militarists, and anti. Oh my.
Let's see here. There's no free speech crisis on campus, so please shut up about it.
We did, yeah. You quit using your First Amendment while I keep using mine.
So, I don't know what college that was at, man, but I heard a little bit about this yesterday, so I was kind of like,
I'm guessing it was. Can I say Berkeley?
probably our college campus is growing more intolerant of free speech. The numbers say no,
Yeah.
but lots of students say yes.
Until you go against their agenda, and then instead of saying, you know what, I don't agree with you, but I do know at Berkeley when Shapiro, and I hope he goes back. They said, well, we'll let you come back someday. Oh, come on.
Yeah, it gets.
And the thing is the reason why they wouldn't let him speak is because he's right. He beats the snot out of you with facts, And I think the one speech he was going to do was on abortion, and how everybody's saying, yeah, guns are killing kids. And then we kind of hit this a little bit a couple of weeks ago or last week or whatever. But abortions kill more than guns do. Why aren't people abortion more? Well, you know what? They just did. They just did. You know, the conservative movement, the women, you know, you had the Women's March, women's rights, you know, and then they went out and interviewed the people. What are you marching for? I don't know. I don't like Trump. Well, do you know the leader of the UN from the United States side is a woman? He's put more women in different positions, but so they get their agenda across. And anytime you challenge them with fact, you know, more children, babies are killed by abortion than guns. Bullshit. You know, that's their first reply is just, you're wrong. No, facts are facts. Heroin kills more children than guns. You know, Scott, you're wrong again. Do your own homework. You don't have to take my word for it. There's places you can go to Snopes or fact finding, whatever it is. There's a Census Bureau you can reach out to, and they'll send you this information. So go march in the street to stop heroin. Go march in the street to stop abortion. And if you still want to march about guns, I'm okay with that. But don't just pick and choose how you want your kids to die.
Yeah.
And how you want to protest
And that's how they do it.
And I think that's what you're probably right. You're saying, chill out.
Yep, it's just noise is all it really is. Because
the squeaky wheel keeps getting.
I want to see Q post free speech is safe. Don't worry, because that's the next line, folks. It seems like these college campuses.
I'm scared to death.
That's where our kids go. I mean, I know my a good neighbor of mine. He's like, well, I've never met your oldest daughter, Jim, and he's like, she went off to college and we don't get along now. I mean,
Yes.
Their younger son served, in the military. Not, that the whole family has to be on board. I mean, I get it.
I bet that's
but some of these liberal colleges, they literally the teachers they do their thing. I'm going to shape this class, and if they find somebody that is a Second Amendment loving,
Shaming.
God, country, I got to uninstill that from them and pump this down their face. And if they don't, they're going to fail my class.
Like the teacher last month, he was in and out of the news pretty quick. He was shaming the one kid when we going to the military. It's a bunch of murderers, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, you work for the public school system and you just insulted the entire military and you shamed this kid for wanting to go into the Marines.
Yeah.
Sir, that everything you just spewed out of your mouth is protected by the United States Constitution, and that document is protected by young men and women that join the Marines. They don't even see the irony of it. It's just hurry up and blurt this stuff out and then try to support it later.
And that's what I'm saying. That's when you get in these heated things. People are pigeonholed. They got one idea, and they're here to talk to you about guns. So when you bring up anything else that triples the murder rate or people are dying, their
head spins around. Yeah.
They act like that has nothing to do with it. But it's valid. It's like, do you care about how people are dying or just how they die? And you want to fix this one angle.
Right.
That's what we horn in on. There's like all these categories. And it's like, if you had a list of 20 things, they're jumping in at 19 or 18, and it doesn't quite make sense to somebody. It's like, well, if you're wanting to say, what's your mission here?
Good for
you. What
you.
is your true mission?
Is it to save lives? Because if it is, we have to talk about everything.
There's that's it.
Well, that gun is scary, though, Scott. Well, so is heroin overdoses.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand the logic behind, and yes, I do. I do understand it because the media is telling them to get pissed.
To me, it's like, so if heroin wasn't outlawed or illegal, would we have more people in society on it? Is that their theory? Because it's like, well, now it's readily available. Because they've done this in countries where it's kind of like the person that likes heroin seems to find it, regardless or not, if it's on the market or not on the market, black market, outlawed, banned, they're finding it and they're doing it. Now, don't get me wrong. There's probably a heroin user out there that ran out and his guy's out.
Yeah.
They can't find them. Would it be easier for him to obtain if it was sold at the 7-Eleven? Yes. Okay. But does it create more if, it's like the liquor being sold in the liquor store. Mm-hmm. It's readily available. Does that make more alcoholics in our culture?
Oh, you absolutely.
But if it was banned, So that's my theory on it.
Well, if it wasn't readily, again, my old man used to say, he was a 2-pack a day cigarette smoker, but he followed the law.
Yeah.
I don't know that he ever really he got one ticket one time.
I mean, if heroin became available tomorrow, are you all of a sudden going to jump onto the heroin thing?
I would not.
No.
But I understand where you're going.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't really know either. I'm just, if people like to have pointless conversations, this could be a pointless one. But I think about that sometimes. It's like, I think the same amount of people would, I don't know. I don't know if you get one or two more, like, well, nah, it's a cool thing to do now. I mean, because it's legal, or I don't know. That's something I'm gonna scratch down and look into some numbers. I know there's a country that legalized like heroin, cocaine. I mean, just all the main hard drugs. And I don't know how they're doing.
They're dying most likely, but
no. Then they're saying that the kids come up, and the ones it's just like when it was illegal. It's here. Right, we have our culture coming up. Marijuana.
What's the word I'm looking for? They took the
taboo out of it. That's what. So I've seen this in the service when I went over to Italy.
Sure.
And this bartender, he's like, "Well, you come from America, and we're talking, and he's like, oh yeah." He's telling me how some of the problems he sees coming to our country in the next several years because of our, we're a mixed culture of religions and colors. And I think I was in Dubrovnik, Croatia. So it was this little area that was all the same religion, all the same color skin of people,
Sure.
But he was telling me, sitting there at the bar, he's like, well, our kids, a young kid came in and sat at the bar for a minute, and I think he got like a soda
or something.
Well, I think he was just getting a soda and some candy bar they had, and then he was out. But I was like, wow, kids can be at the bar, and I was laughing. He goes, oh yeah. I was like, what's the age? He goes, well, if you could sit at the bar.
Yeah,
that was
there's
if you could sit up. But they drink wine at dinner, right? They bring it into their culture. So the kids there, it's not like, ooh, beer and I need to get some. It's so naturalized throughout their life, and they actually get some wine at 13 or 12 a little bit. They don't drink to probably get hammered drunk, just enough to drink and be social, and maybe you feel that little slight buzz and your eyelids get a little heavy.
But you're absolutely right.
So now they don't abuse it.
Right. When we were 16, I mean, if somebody said, hey,
so it's not the theory of do a little heroin and then you don't abuse it. It's you're gonna, I just don't know if people, how did, it was not in our culture. We didn't grow up with heroin being at so how do we have a culture of people?
Curiosity kills the cat.
Yes.
All the time. So I'm not saying legalize heroin, but what I can see where you're going with this, and I can appreciate it, because I do know when I first had my first beer, I can tell you the first time I drank too much beer or liquor or whatever, it was taboo. And because you're a teenager, you may not admit it, but you didn't just go get drunk just to get drunk. You got drunk because it was against the law, and you were being a wild.
It's always that
nobody drinks to throw up.
We want what we can't have thing,
Correct.
right? So
Correct.
That's what I'm thinking. I don't know if that has anything.
Yeah.
I know what I just rambled on about for the last 10, but you guys are getting it maybe a little bit.
Well, you can use that with guns too. I mean, we've talked about it till we've been blue in the face. Where
that's what I'm saying. If
said
people want
criminal
it, they're
can't
going
own
to
a
get it.
gun. Does that mean if he really wanted
How
a gun?
about this? School zones are already a gun-free place, right? They already have that law.
You just blew my mind.
Right?
Why did those guns end up in that school then? It was regulated already.
Okay, so we already made a law that this whole area, and they're drug-free zones. My whole life, I see the signs.
Why are kids smoking pot in the parking lot? It's not supposed to be there.
That's right. So
is it because somebody, a human, ingested the drug or the alcohol and or carried the gun onto the property
in pieces and reassembled it?
Well, even if they just walked on the
class. No, exactly.
So they broke the law.
They're not growing the pot in the school. Yeah. They're not, manufacturing the LSD on the windows.
They didn't care about your first law. What makes you think they're going to care about the next law you write?
That brings me to this point.
Man, we can't bring that gun anymore because now that gun is illegal to own. But it was illegal to bring on the school property yesterday. Boy, I know, Scott, but today it's illegal to even own.
So this is their theory. It's like and I've heard it, and I don't really agree. But so they're like, if we make this certain thing illegal for an 18-year-old. So like you said, the 18-year-old that evidently went down to Kmart or wherever you can go, get Target, Walmart, whatever, gets the gun, and he's at home, and then he's like, oh, wait, it's this gun-free zone over there. I can't do this crime. because it's gun free. No, he's already setting out. So their theory is if he couldn't run down to get this gun. Now, mixed numbers on these different shooters in the last decade, whether they were of age, already, shouldn't have had a gun because of crimes or felonies.
Pretty sure it don't matter.
They broke. No, that's what I'm saying. So their theory is that we got to make it harder for them to get. They're not going to go down to Walmart and just show their ID and then, all right, you're good to go, and give them, and then they come home and break all these other laws that were already in place anyway.
Yeah.
So now we shouldn't make it readily available is what they're trying to say. So now, they don't get to go. So does that hinder a whole thing? This guy that, I'm going to go, I want to shoot up this possible building over here. It's a school. He runs to Walmart. The gun's not available. Puts his ID. Oh, sorry, sir. You got to be 21 now. Oh, my bad. Thank you. He's not going to go back home and wait 3 more years or whatever.
He's going to go call Steve, his neighbor, the kid down the
street. Or if that's the culture.
Hey, man, where'd you get your gun?
If we ban these certain things, like we've done other things, what tends to happen? That they become available on the black market. And
restrict,
that's it.
Regulate.
You just change where you shop.
Exactly. Wow. So what you're saying is, and wow.
That's why I don't want to go down these roads with these people, because the people that you're arguing with they're just trying to get you to do one thing, and then you're like, all right, fine, and then you do it. And I know how this goes. I've read enough books. I'll do everything they say, and then the next thing I'm in line with them heading into the frickin' oven.
Yeah.
That's how dumb they are. And then they're going to look back, all right, you were right. My bad. So now what, Mike?
Yeah, too
I'll be
late.
Like, get out of my way. Let me go ahead of you in line. I'm going to jump in there first so I don't have to fucking hear you no more.
and you're absolutely, oh my Lord, you just nailed it.
I think. I mean,
thank hell. No, that's. I don't know how you can make it any more clear than that. So basically, what you're saying is by regulating more and creating more laws. We already know that's not going to work. Science is behind it. You can't argue facts and numbers, but you're suggesting, and I agree 100%, that all you're doing is adding more taboo, which then raises the curiosity even more. So.
No, there's good people like, no, the AK was banned in 1984 or 85 from the United States. So, I get it. We don't see a whole bunch of them being used. That's their theory. I was like, it's not
banned, by the way.
What is it?
You need a federal license.
Yes, that's
lots
exactly.
of people have
special
federal license.
Yes,
to
exactly.
own a machine gun. You can still own a machine gun in this country.
Yes.
Don't let them fool you.
Exactly.
But it's not
when I say ban, I totally.
Right.
There was a shift. There was a shift in who could have them.
Correct.
That's the proper word, folks. I hate using the word ban because there's never truly a ban on anything. It's just
who can have it and who can't.
Yeah, you're doing a gun shift.
Yeah. In this case, there's a large group of people that want to shift all the guns to
just
the government.
No,
not over my dead body.
And that's the one group that the Constitution tells us to watch out for. So why would you hold? Like I said, why do you hold that conversation, especially with them?
Quit giving them so much
I hate
power.
to hold it with the typical citizen next to me, the gun debate, but I'm definitely not going to hold that with the people we vote in that are us. They're one of us, and we vote them in. They get up on the stage, and it's like, you don't need that anymore. That's a little scary. And people are like, well, they're not treasonous right now, not today. Well, you give the non-treasonous government your weapon, and then when they become possibly treasonous, and everyone laughs at that, like, oh, you think the government's coming at you? Well, if you look at the history books, it's happened before.
History repeats
if
itself.
you look at all these other places, we're just the United States. If you look at the globe,
we're very new, by the way.
Guns are banned in Mexico. We talk about it all the time. Guns are banned. Who has them? The cartel, the government.
Everybody but the guy in the middle.
Yeah, everybody but the law-abiding. Where the law came in to take guns away, only the law-abiding people abide by that.
What a horrible place that must be to live.
Now they're what do you call it? Casualty of war, or just
you are a casualty, or you're going to be a product of the environment that you're in. So now you've taken my ability to defend myself, and actually there was a story the other day where a guy used his AR to defend himself, and then, you don't need an AR. That's why do you need 20, 30 rounds? Well, this guy ended up having 5 people come on his property. Well, hold on, let me reload my one shooter. No, it's okay to have a semi-automatic weapon. Again,
Got a little static.
yeah, a little bit of static. We don't have. We talked about it and talked about it. I guess I'm going to go all the way back to it. That 20, 30 years ago, our folks were in school. They had the ability. You just said it perfectly. Machine guns were still legal in this country, or at least there was a lot more of them. Nobody 20 and 30 years ago was doing this. So why is it the gun? Why can't people open their minds and say, "Oh my God,
Yeah.
the Patriot Hour is exactly right. The gun didn't change. Society is changing.
Yes.
That's it, man." So, Q, I am with you. I will help push this. I'm going to chill out. It is fake news. It's garbage.
Yep.
If they really cared, they'd be fighting more than just guns. We've already talked about that. But here, I'm going to make a promise on this show. I'm going to quit getting into some of these debates because I get over passionate anyway. And sometimes say
No,
things
and save your energy for the other battles that we have to fight yet.
Yes.
Prepare for those. Get ready for everything else because that's it. This is just a distraction. It's a way to sit there and get really irate because at that point, a lot of personal feelings start coming in, and it's just
they're dividing.
yeah, they're working it good. That's exactly what he's saying. So don't believe the fake news. They're not coming for your guns. It's going to be your neighbors trying to throw their guns away, and that's fine. I tell people all the time, you don't want yours, throw it away. Give it to me.
No kidding.
Don't.
I give you $50 for it. But
No, and then it's their theory of like, I don't want to not have mine. And it's typically people that have guns aren't even the ones saying this. It's the ones that don't own a gun in the house.
that are experts.
And they're experts, and they don't want you to have one in your house, even though you've lived next to them for 20 years and you've never done anything. And again, once they win and they try to win, and if they can get rid of all the guns from law-abiding folk, and then the minute something happens, what do? They call the cops, and they're hoping that this person runs over, shows up with a gun.
There's an old saying. What are the first 2 or 3 things that you say
You're
or
going to
do?
pray
You're
that
gonna-
they show up quick,
Yeah.
and
You're going to wish you had a gun, and then you're going
and
to...
you're calling somebody with the gun, but
Correct.
yet you know.
But
It says
Rachel Maddow said guns are bad.
cops can only show up after the fact, folks. I mean, you don't
Yep.
call them at midnight and say, I think somebody's going to be breaking into my house in 10 to 15 minutes.
You know, most cops will tell you they want civilians to be armed.
Well, yeah.
There's a lot of cops that will tell you that, man, if I knew, especially small towns where I grew up, when you do a background check and you get your concealed carry, the last guy that signs off, maybe not the last guy, but I do know that they have to sign off on it. It goes to that local marshal or that local sheriff, and they want to know that you have the guns for the biggest reason is, can they call upon you for assistance,
Yeah.
deputize you or something, That's been going on for
On
a
the spot.
long time. Hey, Mike's got a gun.
And he's really well trained.
I'm
and,
one marshal because, St. Joe County only has one cop per couple of square mile, whatever it is. They could, like you said,
Yeah.
they can't be there fast enough. So if I'm a local marshal or a local cop and I know you got a gun and this guy just did something crazy, I'm going to say, Mike, you're carrying, right? Help me out.
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't, but most times you would in rural areas. You go out west, and that happens a lot still. They still
Yes.
deputize on the
Oh,
fly.
yeah.
Hey, John, jump in. Let's go.
You were
Right?
for the next hour, riding with us.
There's
I
still,
mean,
the sheriff's posse.
Posse,
There
yeah.
still are posses around this country, and it's not
Marshals,
It's not just
but
to
posse,
join a
yeah.
club. They actually do works.
yeah, no, exactly. And that is huge, folks. And that's, again, it's like, just because they've chipped away at militias, there's a lot of militias in states still, but a lot of them are deemed anti-government militias. I know
Yeah.
they've been deemed to be of a bad
They labeled.
and some of them probably deserve it. I'm not defending, I don't know all of them. I just know this. I've looked. The government only recognizes like 2 or 3 anymore. The federal government would call, the state of Texas has one, I think, and then like just a few other states. Maybe, yeah, it's very few. And then the other ones have been deemed, they're anti-government militias. So just because I've done a good job at like chipping away at the militias, and then it's kind of like, well, if we get rid of militias, then you look at the Second Amendment, it talks about a well-regulated, and then people say that you're not a militia.
Aren't
Well, your
all-
family could be.
Sure.
Militias are made up of people. It takes a person, at least one person, to
Form.
be a militia. A militia is not its own, made up of alien bodies.
What's the point of a militia?
A well-regulated, trained with their guns,
To protect what?
protect the state
From.
government.
That's right.
So that's why they're not promoted, and you're not going to see your federal government set up funds to build up.
Oh,
They've done a
hell
good
no.
job at chipping them away.
They'll never
so then it
fund
can be
militias.
Like,
They'll
you got no
never-
militias.
Yeah,
You don't need
yeah.
your guns. No, that's
Could
think
you
about that, folks.
imagine if a senator or even a sitting president said, "Hey, let's try something new. We used to do it back in the 1700s and 1800s. Let's allocate funds, federal tax dollars, to help states'
Build up
militias.
states militias and
Oh my!
get them trained and regulated to the max. But
because
no,
they should, but they don't.
they don't. Well, no, they
It's against their agenda.
no, they want us all confused, screaming at your neighbor when all they need to do is get trained up. And it can benefit if you're a house of one around 4 or 5 other people out in the country even, and you are so against guns, but your neighbors and they've never done anything but went out and maybe shoot at their target, shot at some deer, or you can call on them to help you out.
Oh, my neighbor
If they're
John,
willing. So
he'd
that
help me. He'd
that's
help
what
me
you
big
do.
time.
That's governing your own property, your private property. It's your sovereign little piece of land. You got your weapon, and you're going to protect that. Your family. We get dogs, some guns, and not that you're all looking out every window waiting for the wrong person to step on your property. You're just being
You're prepared.
Prepared.
And I'll end with this. There's people that have fire extinguishers in your home. And this will blow your mind. This is an easy question to ask anybody that says, get rid of your guns. All right, Jim, why do you have a fire extinguisher in your house? Well, in case there's a fire. Weird. You hope you never have to use that fire extinguisher,
Exactly.
right, Jim?
Exactly.
Well, no. Why would I ever? Hell no. That means my house is on fire. Well, Jim, I feel the same way about my gun. I don't ever want to use it. I hope I never have to use it. I pray for that. I think strong. But boy, is it a nice tool to have, Jim, if you walk in my house to do my wife or children or even me harm.
Yeah.
And most of the time, said Jim, well, whoa, you're right. I better go get rid of that fire extinguisher. That's how stupid they are. But they can't even see their own analogy. But that's how I sum it up. You have a fire extinguisher for that reason. I protect my house with a weapon. I'm not saying I'm going to take it into a school. I'm never going to do it. I plan on not doing that.
Yeah.
But you're not coming into my house either to do me harm because, like you just mentioned, the cops are probably 23 minutes away. A lot of stuff can happen in 23 minutes. So, Mr. Government, when you can guarantee my protection 100% of the time, I'll think and only think about giving you my gun.
Awesome. You heard it there. That was Scott. I agree. It's a tool that if you need, you should have readily available. Just like all the other tools you have. You got a hammer in the garage. You don't use it every day, but when you need it, you go get it and you use it. So a gun, same concept, folks, if at the minimum, Now you need to stay sharp with it and do your practicing and stuff, because that is a skill that can, dwindle down a little bit.
Just like any tool, it takes a skilled person. You don't just go buy one and start shooting the darn thing.
No.
You also got to know how to clean it and take care of it, and proper maintenance. It's not a toy. I agree with that, but it is a tool, and it's a tool I use to defend my home.
There it is. We're going to end it right on that with Scott. We're probably going to maybe do another one here. We're going to take a little break. We'll end this episode. Again, I'm Mike from the Patriot Hour. If you're new to the channel, take a minute to subscribe, share, like.
Ring the bell.
Ring the bell for us, folks. We will be back here shortly.
Protect those rights.